I love the mix. Okay, I think we're live now, but let me set the show up, and yeah, there we are. Yeah, let me set the show up real quick, and we'll roll it out in just a few minutes. Let's see. I want to make sure that I get it shared to some of the affiliate groups. It says 1, 2, 3, 4, so that would be Hawaii time. So that's a good sign.
Ooh, 1, 2, 3, 4.
1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah.
That number pertains to my inner masculine energy. So.
Oh yeah.
This is good. This is good.
Yes. That's a good subject. That's an interesting subject. Let me ask you. I never ask a personal question like this. How old are you? Are you like
25?
I was going to say 25. Yeah, so it's good. You know, we've really been trying to find young people. You know, so the so we can get the feel for that. And we've been able to find more and more. So this is going to be great. Okay, let's see. Let me just share these out. I'm going to give a few shout outs since I didn't do much of that today. Thank you, Rebecca Williams, for adminning the Soulogy group by yourself with my little bit of help, which isn't a lot. And I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. And all the other affiliate groups. I'm not going to name every one of them because I'm a little bit off kilter at the moment. Just went through pretty couple of massive shows, and I'm really happy that this one fell into place on the 7th because it's been a big day broadcasting here, and it's an honor to be part of this particular broadcast. Hello, let's see, Shanine Banrian in the house. If you haven't seen the Freedom Network, I would highly recommend it. Sophie Thornalley down in Adelaide, South Australia. Kelly McBain is one of the people that I see. I hope that maybe by sharing our guest stuff, you made a connection with her. I see you guys talking back and forth all the time. Jan McMahon Thompson, Michael Van Patten, Danielle Stochin, Donna Davin, Mira Ginsburg. Let's see, Kelly McBain again, Dagmar Dag, Del Lawrence, Carla Mitsis, Gaia Man, that's Paul Castaneda, Jenny Williams, Shamir Babara. Always have a good show with you, Reese Campbell, Katarina de Amor, Lisa Grener Man, Barbara Parker, Barbara Parker, Dallas, Texas, Shar Domke, Jenny Williams, Sonia Nomo, and everybody else. Shanine says she loves your work, Ashley, keeping it real. Yeah. Kenneth Langford. Yeah. So it's a special broadcast. You know, I ran into Ashley Simone a few months ago. I was just telling her this when we were off Facebook. And I really liked her stuff because it's got a street dish to it. And I got a lot of street in me, and I got a lot of raw in me, which is being refined, but I'll always keep that part with me because I've noticed in Soulogy in 8 years that the rawness is what activates people, and sometimes there's shadow in it, sometimes there's not. We're all learning to express ourselves from a more balanced, aligned state, you know, as we continue to integrate all these different polarities and differences or contrasts, let's put it that way. We're doing the good work, and it's really nice to be able to support Ashley Simone coming out, because I've been watching her coming out a little bit more every day, and some of you know what I'm talking about. So it's exciting. She's coming out with a new YouTube channel. She's done a couple of videos recently, and she's always waxing the poetic every day about all different kinds of subjects, even her mother going off about Jesus. So thank you so much for honoring us with your presence and allowing us to support you and sharing space with us today. Welcome to SOULSPEAKS 5D.
5D, welcome to 5D. Yeah. This is what it feels like. I was getting so emotional as you were doing the shout outs, and I had to like hold back the tears because I can be a crybaby. I cry a lot when it comes to just being humbled for every step along the way, because we forget sometimes that the darkness brings forth more light in the end. So this past eclipse, I was dipping into like the second dimension. Like I was down there heavy. but I was coming up for air like every so often, and I could feel myself saying, "Okay, you're almost there. You're almost there." So, it's a beautiful journey when you look at it from hindsight.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I was going to the 1D. What, whatever that was. But I enjoyed, I did, what I found really interesting was between Morgan, a couple of beloved sisters, and I consider you one too, you as well. There's 5 or 6 feminine frequencies that I kind of resonate with, and they're all different. They're all really different countries, different
Mm,
ethnicities, but they were all saying the same thing in a way, and not exactly, but basically, uh, just seeing it through the nonverbal more than anything, just seeing where
mm.
their frequencies was. And it was interesting because there was a lot of alignment in what I was receiving from each one of them. And that helped me, climb from the 1D to the 1.5D. So you're 25 years old. We don't see a lot of young people, and well, we're starting to in these circles. The demographics of Soulogy is, 65% women. I don't know the exact number, but the big majority or the big block of that is people that are 35 to 55. I'm now in the over 55 range minority, the old people. But so it's really interesting to see the perspectives. We've had some young people on here, really, really fascinating stories. You have a mix. You really bring a lot to the table because you have this Caribbean cultural thing. You're in New York City, which right there, I spent some time in New York City in the Bronx for a few months on my journey, and you're just exposed to so much stuff. After walking through woods and the mountains and next to streams, and then I end up in New York City at New Year's Eve with nowhere to stay, and there's this much snow on the ground. You really, really learn about energy, and you
Mm.
learn how to balance and integrate, and so you've got a really good mix. Plus you're a young divine feminine, at least in Earth years, and you of course have the cultural stuff and your age, and then also you talk a lot about the I would say the oral traditions rather than the religiousness of the cultural things that are handed down to you. So what a great mix. So after saying all that, let me set up the famous question on Soul Speaks 5D. Did you have an awakening experience, or were you just born this way and always held on to it?
So I like to think of it, I was always very masculine growing up. I'm a Capricorn. My chart is heavy Capricorn. So I've always been very masculine in energy, very career oriented, very, not too intuitive, not too much caught up in the feelings. So when 2017 hit me, I was in Barnes and Noble. I picked up a book called Indigo Children, and I was bawling my eyes out. Okay, I was crying because I'm like, this is me 110%. And then after that, everything in my life just went upside down.
Right? Isn't that funny how that happens? You really talk a lot, and I really resonate with it. Uh, but you talk a lot about your ancestors.
Mm,
Some of the stuff that you talk about, I don't know that much about. My heritage is Spanish, Mexican, a little bit indigenous. And my
that's where we cross.
yeah,
Okay.
that Caribbean thing I really got introduced to in the Bronx because I was staying
Mm,
with the Dominican family, and it wasn't the instruction or the conversations. There was something about the energy of the Bronx that was, and the family I was staying with, that was absolutely intriguing and amazing, and it was an important time in my transition. But yeah. So I mean, your connection to your ancestors, to your oral traditions, was that something that was taught to you by relatives? I mean, or,
my mother is very Jesus, very go to church outwardly, but inwardly, she's very intuitive, very I can sense energy, very, oh, my dream said this. Or Caribbean mothers, they have a way of, they'll have a dream and then they'll say, you know what, don't go to this place because I had a dream of this and that. So as much as they like to say, okay, don't read cards or don't look at play with crystals, it's in the blood.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it's almost like I'm the one to acknowledge it, fully acknowledge it and say, listen, mom, this is the gifts that we these are the gifts that we have. So there's nothing wrong with it.
yeah. And it's definitely rooted in that Caribbean culture. All of them, I guess, are a mix of one, but it's a powerful, powerful tradition or traditions. You write about so many different things. I want to ask you about, as we get into this, but the first and foremost thing is your daily. They're not rants, but they're like, this is what's happening. The sky's falling. I'm taking cover. It's getting it's getting intense as F. I have to stop saying F I was on the show, but
I'm trying to stop cursing too.
well, I just do it off the camera. But the thing is, it's so raw. But you every other post you seem to be talking about your ancestors. Who are your ancestors? What are your ancestors? Would that be something similar
I
to
love them.
someone's spirit guides or divine essences that guide them, or is this something that's even more kindred, like through bloodlines and that type of thing?
So your ancestors are who you descend from. So grandmother, great grandmother, great grandfather, those people who go back, 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 like all the way to like the very beginning of the creation of your human DNA, let's say. So like my maternal haplogroup is LOA, and that comes from South Africa. So a lot of my business is chemical creations this comes from a South Africa, and it's a group of people where Nelson Mandela is from. And the word they use, that means, I forgot what my friend was telling me, but it has to do with the ancestors, and it also means namaste.
Mm,
So my business is very much guided by them. There's nothing that I do spiritually that cannot come through them first. So
right.
in a sense, they're like my guides and blood.
Wow. And
Yeah.
so, tell me a little bit about your business.
So my business, I'm really working it out bit by bit, step by step.
Yeah.
So one thing they revealed to me as of yesterday was that I will be working with a lot of flowers. So my grandmother has been telling me, and the funny thing is I bought very berry hibiscus today. And
Mm,
I've been seeing hibiscus in my third eye. And today my mother was telling me, look at the hibiscus flowers that have bloomed in our garden. Cause
wow.
my mother has such a green thumb. She's always in her garden. As soon as it gets warm in New York, she's outside planting. So it's like my ancestors are guiding me to get back to nature, get back to grounding that energy that is around me 100% all the time. Because that's why the name of the business is Kamagu Creations, because it is something that will be created but guided through my ancestors.
Right, right. And I'm curious, what part of New York you live in?
I live in Queens
You're
right
in
now.
Queens. Okay, Queens is
Yeah.
cool. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. And so now, before you had this experience in the bookstore, were you hearing your ancestors, or was that kind of like a third eye opening? Did your capacities and your skills and abilities expand after that point?
Oh, definitely. Definitely. The ancestors, I want to say it didn't come until recently. I want to say the past 3 4 months is when it really that connection really got strengthened, because in order to bridge that gap with your ancestors, you have to make that intent. You have to
Yeah,
take the time out to sit with them and say, okay, guys, I want to get to know you guys. Like, let's talk. Let's, put me on to what's going on, because I need some guidance down here.
yeah, yeah,
Until then, they're just going to be, a little whisper
yeah.
that
That's
you
what you.
won't always hear.
Yeah, I had one of those yesterday. I think your mother might call them a come to Jesus meeting. I said, "Hey, man, what is going on here?" I mean, we had to have a review. This was during the afternoon. I took a long walk, but yeah, I totally get that. What's interesting too about watching you is like a lot of people. I didn't know you before, but let's just say a few months ago, I saw you write some stuff, and it was like, whoa. And then I saw a lot of stuff that was what people write about. This happened to me today, or that happened to me today, or I came to this place, or look at my food. that type of stuff. But I saw this change, and then all of a sudden you're talking about ancestors, you're talking about your divine feminine, you talk about your divine masculine, you talk about your flame, your twin flame, and you also have this this thing where you talk about, it's what I call, you speak that shift into existence. Where you're actually saying, this is what I'm going to do, and I'm coming in, and I'm going to get this shift done. And so it's really kind of cool. Now, do you have a partner, or are you speaking in terms of what you're creating when you talk about the twin flame? I know you're talking about the internal, but I guess that's the second part of the question. Is there an externalization to that?
Definitely. And after I came across Indigo Children, that book, I had a dream about him. I want to say, yeah, I had a dream. Our first meeting was me in a dream meeting him. And I was like, who is this Dominican man? Like, who are you? I don't know who you are. So why are you coming to me in dreams, having my eyes peeled? And then 3 weeks later, we met. And then,
if I remember correctly, the dream was a pretty intense dream.
Yeah, I woke up like, woof, shut.
That's anyway. I think everybody gets the drift on that one. I'm not going to go there. So 3 weeks later, you meet him. What was that like?
Yeah,
were you shocked, or were you?
It was like I was just channeling. I had no control over like my human self. It's like my soul and his soul was just like ready to jump out of our skins. And then it got to the point, and then 3 months later after that, then it's like everything started, the reality started kicking in. Yeah. And then that's when all the shadow work and all of that shit started coming up. And it was like, oh, fuck, now the journey begins.
Isn't that the truth? Isn't that a great description for everybody, I mean, the sparks, or the soul recognition, and maybe that lends to the phrase the honeymoon is over. Yeah. But I've seen you write about that. I've seen you say, and you actually do it in great reverence. You say, oh my God, that my flame is like throwing light on me, or I'm throwing light on him, and the shadows are coming out, but you say it with such reverence.
Honestly, I could not have made it this far without his guidance in the higher realms and in the lower realms. Yeah. Because I'll see him and we'll talk down here, but I'll really be listening, and he's telling me something else in the higher realms that he tells me to translate for him down here.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's almost like he's taught me how to like travel the dimensions and really ground into my body.
Wow. Interesting. That's very, very cool. Now, is he in full acceptance of all the stuff you're receiving? And
according to him, he's not spiritual. Like, I mean, he's I think with him, it's that's so ingrained in him.
Yeah, but that's the polarity of it, we've had couples on, and by the way, if it ever resonates with you, I'd love to have you both on together. But
that'd be amazing.
But I've noticed it, and we've had a couple like that, a couple of couples where she's totally locked into this, this whole energy of what we're all talking about and acknowledging, and then he is like, it's in a subtle way, doing it and getting it done. And I like your description of how he's communicating from the higher realm. But wow, that's just a wild dynamic. But does he ever like look at you and say, please don't twinkle your nose and put a spell on me, or something like that?
All the time. Yesterday he was like, listen, don't put no brujeria on me, okay? And I was like, you don't have to worry about that.
And for everybody out there, I'm just saying this from the Latino cultures, a bruja is a witch. but we say that in a good way, in a good way. My grandfather's sister was a curandera, and she was like the number one in South Texas. I mean, like, she, like, all the politicians, governors, people would come from miles around to see her. She scared the death out of me.
It's I'm telling you, that's a whole like curandera and curandismo, that is a
Yeah,
whole type of, it's a whole
it's
different
yeah,
dimension.
yeah, and there's what we might call dark, and there's light too. You know, I used to build houses a long time ago, early in my late 20s for the biggest builder in the country, and I had an office on the Mexican border, and I was the only one that would hire a woman manager, and I hired a woman manager, Latina, and she. I went to the office one time and I told her, "Man, we need some sales, we need some business." And I walked up and she had that white powder out with the chicken feet. She was like doing it. I was like, "What are you doing?" She was, "Let me teach you something." Yeah, she sold a bunch of stuff after that. So I
Exactly.
yeah. So yeah, that's really interesting about your partnership. That's a really fascinating thing in itself. You talk a lot about your own, well, of course, your divine feminine. And you talk about your divine masculine like you are really in touch with well, really
Yeah.
with both of them. I mean, how has that all evolved? Has that all been since 2017 as well?
That comes from, ooh, I just got chills. So that, because I find a lot that he mirrors my inner masculine to the T,
Yeah.
to the damn T. And my inner masculine has a way of, when I'm feeling threatened or when I'm feeling like not safe, I can get into that toxic masculinity kind of energy, where it's like I become guarded and I lose that divine feminine essence of flowing and being, the goddess and being open. So
Yeah.
when during those times, I find that I, as a feminine, we transmute a lot. So there's like, when we're next to each other, I can legit feel the energy going between us like this.
Yeah.
So it's almost like he gives me something, I transmute it and I give it back to him, and the energy flows constantly like this. So if
Yeah.
my heart isn't open, it will just
Yeah.
be held.
I totally get what you're saying. I absolutely have lived it from time to time. And I try to stay out of that because it's usually me, well, I would have to say probably always me creating the blockage in her. So until I get it, it's not going to flow, right? But I think
hmm
that's the way the dance works. I mean,
hmm
do you think that the feminine energy leads the way?
Leads to what?
Leads the way, like takes the higher
Oh,
ground first.
definitely, definitely. Because the feminine energy is the womb. A
Yeah,
lot of power lies in our womb as women. There's no man walking on this earth that hasn't come through a woman first.
right on.
So a lot of the relation between a divine masculine and his divine feminine, both within and without, lies within his relationship with his mother and going down that whole maternal bloodline, what has been passed down. It's a generational
Yeah,
process. It's not just here I am, here we are, and let's have wedding bells now.
yeah, yeah. Well, that explains a lot. If I look at
It is
my
a,
if I look at my maternal heritage, there's a lot of stuff to clear there.
yeah, because I was reading something that says the mitochondrial DNA is only passed through the mother. So there's a lot that we inherit from our mother's wombs. And me as a woman, there's a lot that I have to clear because my children tell me, they're like, listen, Ma, if you don't get this shit together, we're not coming to you. We
Yeah.
want a nice, clear womb. We want our bloodline to be clear.
Wow.
So, and my daughter, she's very feisty. Okay.
So you're having conversations with your children that are currently not incarnated.
Nope.
Right. Wow.
They come to me in dreams and all of that. I'd be like, listen, little girl, not today.
So they come in and tell you you need to
Yeah.
clean it up. Yeah. Wow, that's powerful. And I know you just quickly you've been talking about your professional, well, it's not 3D, but I mean your professional
Oh, yeah.
aspirations, which you seem to be very serious about. Uh, can you just kind of remind me of what that stuff is? Because I know it was human, interpersonal type of stuff, transformational type of stuff.
So right now I'm doing a master's in social work at Fordham University. I have 2 more semesters. Praise the Lord. I'm done May 2020. And then I went to go into post-grad training for to be a psychoanalyst, basically. So I want to have my own practice where I can incorporate, you know, the traditional healing modalities, incorporate quantum shit and all that.
Yeah.
So
As well as the Bruja.
exactly. Can't forget that.
Can
Give
you
my
imagine?
customers a limpia.
I can imagine it. I can imagine walking into your office and not knowing anything and seeing a bunch of this stuff on the walls. You know, oh my God, that'd be freaky. Do you have like specific? You know, a lot of people have certain essences or that woke them up. You know, now that you're talking about the ancestor thing, I know what I would call pre wake up. I used to reach out to 6 grandmothers of different in different aspects of my life or my children's life. And that's where I started praying, man. That's where I was like, please help me. This is all about to blow up. But do you have certain essences that you have an affinity for, or do you? Because I know you speak to many faces of the universe. I guess I'd put it that way.
So because I rely a lot on my blood, because that is who I am. My blood is Indian, my blood is European, my blood is African, my blood is basically goddamn everything.
Yeah.
So I have connections to the Hindu pantheon. Sri Lakshmi comes through heavy. I have connections to Ganesh. I have connections to Saraswati. I have connections to Vishnu. Then I also have connections to my ancestors. I have connections to Obatala. I have connections to Oshun, to Yemaya. I have connections to the European pantheon. I'm kind of working through that because, you know, the whole history with the Caribbean. And I'm currently working on like healing that has been passed down through my mother and all of the stuff that has happened in those timelines. So, and the ancient Egyptians, they have been coming through as of late as well.
Really? So
Yeah.
you're going the whole gamut.
Yeah, I time travel and I'm all over the goddamn place.
So do you? And I didn't for years, but I'm just curious because I'm very organic, like you seem to be. Do you have any type of galactic connection at all?
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Hell fucking yeah. Sirius, Orion, Cygnus. Cygnus has been coming out as of late. Funny thing is, I was driving, I want to say, about 2 months ago, and I saw a license plate that said Cygnus. And I was like, okay, I've never heard of Cygnus, but let me check it out. Because I heard a little whisper like, Google that. So I Googled it and I found that Cygnus means the swan, and there's a race of people that come from there, and I think they said it was like Indian bloodlines or something along that sort. And I'm like, okay, that makes sense because in order for me to connect my blood down here, it has to come from up there as well. So as above, so below, as within, so without. There isn't one without the other. So Sirius, as of right now, I feel like Sirius was probably the last place I really went through some training before incarnating.
Yeah.
So I was probably hopping around Orion and all them other places. And then I came to Sirius and I was like, you know what? Now we about to start training as a master.
Yeah.
And my god sister confirmed that all the fucking way because right after we met, I want to say 3 months ago, and she came to me in a dream and gave me a transmission in light language.
Wow.
Yeah, and that shit woke me up. I was like, whoa, what the fuck? This is intense.
You're like on warp speed, man, since 2017. Yeah. And Sirius was the first thing I saw. I remember that. And I didn't get a lot, but one thing I've learned is like the last few days, and I guess I say Sirius is in conjunction with the sun right now and all that, but it's like it's serious. That's what I say about Sirius. Sirius is serious. They're like, get to work, no BS. Yeah. What are you doing? Don't be a crybaby and just go do what you got to do. And I'm like, okay. And
my mom is Syrian, and she's very much like that.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. So yeah, and so you do light language.
I don't.
I mean, you receive light language. Yeah. You've got a galactic. You've got the organic. You've got the multicultural stuff going on. I mean, do you do readings for people? I mean, I saw that you do sessions. Do you do sessions for people?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. And are those like just customized for each person, or do you have a set process?
Those, I mean, they'll start with the cards, but usually the cards, once you like, the cards are like a doorway. So
Yeah.
once you pull the cards out and you say, all right, spirits talk to me, sometimes you'll hear ancestors, sometimes you hear kids, sometimes you hear someone else who's in their field. So
Yeah.
it's crazy. But they're also starting to open me up to seeing like attachments. So I do a lot of chakra work and I can see the attachments that are on people and what chakras they're in and how that chakra is spinning. It's almost like I see someone and I see the colors, I see their chakras, I see a whole bunch of shit before I see their physical body.
Wow. And do you find because I noticed, I mean, I noticed like on some of your posts, like, well, I guess they're like friends of yours, like probably in your age bracket that know you, that have known you. I mean, A, have they seen a change in you since 2017? And B, are there more people in your age group that are getting this stuff as you've gotten it?
My
Yeah.
age, when I say my age group, we are a force to be reckoned with. Okay,
I agree. I agree with you. I
we
totally.
are. A lot of my friends are just like they're coming with me.
Yeah.
Like a lot of them I can't leave behind because it's like and I feel like you don't meet friends for no reason. So a lot of us, we've been doing this for lifetimes and years and years. So it's like once one activates, another one activates. I have a friend in DC, and when I was in those ancient Egyptian timelines, she's a nurse in DC. So she was, hey Ali, I love you, girl. She's a nurse in DC. So she was getting couples who they were Egyptian or Ethiopian. And on her birthday, she's a Gemini. So on her birthday, she's a twin as well. On her birthday, this Egyptian couple or Ethiopian couple, they gave birth to twins. And she had connected so much with the family. And she was just telling me the story, and we just both started crying
Yeah.
because I'm like, there's no way this isn't divinely guided.
Yeah. Yeah. And I would bet you that a lot of those that are coming with you are female. Is that proportionate to what the rest of the communities are experiencing?
The males, they be trying to be low, but
Yeah.
you could feel them, and I can
Yeah.
feel them in my field, like listening and peeping and
Yeah.
coming behind the curtain and seeing what's going on. So
Yeah. They just can't let any other guys see that they're
yeah,
doing
like
But if you guys are going to be leading the way, they're not going to they're not going to exist without you. So, you got to take the higher ground, and that would only make sense because that's what happens in the rest of the circles. You know, even in the 55, 56 and over, that one. Wow, this is cool. And two, the other thing that I think that's interesting about your situation is, and you mentioned your friend in DC. I spent a lot of time in those northeastern markets in my old life. In the business world, it's a very thick density, man. I mean, that's some thick stuff. It's a very fast pace, stay on your toes, stay alert, but thick density. I mean, to be able to navigate that and actually expand in that type of environment is that's an achievement for anybody.
it
Do you
shows you how to master your energy. Like I've had to master being on the subway and saying, you know what, this is my goddamn bubble. I don't want anybody in my bubble. Don't put no damn cords in me, nothing. So
Yeah.
you learn how to master your energy from the simplest of things, walking
Yeah.
down the street. So
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I picked up when I got there. When I was in the Bronx 4 months, and I was all over the place. That to me was one of the two phases in my life where, in a short period of time, I really learned how to integrate with energy, hold my field, and basically be a spiritual badass. And
yeah,
I'm not saying that I'm a badass. I'm just saying I was able to really stand in my power, spiritually. The human was still wounded and scattered, waking up in the wrong place at the wrong time from time to time. But no, it's very interesting. And I believe too, absolutely, that these young people are coming. In fact, I cannot wait. I think it'll be very fast, very quantum. Because
yeah.
I'm tired, man. I don't know about everybody else out there my age, but I'm a little bit tired. Yeah.
We're waking up like at a rapid. There's no way. And this is why I don't even like try to rush someone's journey, because the same way I woke up so organically and so fluidly, if that's even a word, it's like you just have to remember that everyone has their alarm clocks. So
Yeah,
when someone is supposed to wake up, they're gonna wake up. It's inevitable. So
yeah,
you just have to allow that process to unravel for them. And you make them wake up quicker when you leave it up to them and their spirit and their guidance.
yeah.
So, but we coming 100%.
Oh, you're already here. There's no doubt. It's just a matter of, yeah. Now, do you, because I mean, it's really interesting reading your stuff too, because it seems like sometimes you consciously connect with intention and sometimes they just pop in with like these powerful interactions. I'm talking about the ancestors or whatever essences might pop in because the messages seem to be very clear. So is that
Yeah,
some, is
and
that, go ahead.
go no, go ahead. Is
I was
that
going to say, so
something?
is that something that you consciously seek or does it come to you pretty naturally?
So what I'm learning is that I'm a medium, 100%, and I'm like in a training process, and I'm being groomed to understand like what spirit comes to me and what spirit is talking to me and what am I hearing, what do I need to translate. So it's like I'm the middleman between the ethers and this realm.
Right, right.
So a lot of the time I'm just like translating, and sometimes I'm not always aware of what's coming out of my mouth and where it's coming from, and other times I'm 100% aware.
Yeah, yeah. And so, and before I forget too, do you do sessions online or do you only do them in person?
Sessions as in my readings,
Yeah, like would you work with people one on one online
I
or is
do
it?
them I do them mostly on FaceTime.
Oh, okay.
So we'll chat, you'll have my number, and I'll just tell you what they're saying.
Yeah. And so for all you old people out there, FaceTime is kind of like Facebook Messenger video, except for it's a little bit different. I think you got to have an Apple to do it. But no, I'm just
I
playing
mean,
around.
but then we'll work ways around it,
I know.
definitely.
I didn't know what FaceTime was for a long time. I could never figure out why I couldn't talk to my kids. They're like, yeah, Dad, get FaceTime. I'm like, it took me like a long time to figure out I had to get an Apple phone. Yeah, very cool. So what do you think of these energies lately? Like the last, I mean, we had that
Bruh.
so like the last, what is today? The 7th. So the last 17, 18 days since the full moon and the solstice seem to really ramp
Mm.
up, especially the last few days. The last few days have been like,
Funny thing, I was calling the eclipse. I forgot what I was saying. I was saying something solstice. I kept referring to the eclipse as a solstice.
mm,
So something about this eclipse that we just had is definitely in connection with that solstice. That solstice was kind of just like this,
yeah,
but then the eclipse kind of said, "Now
yeah,
you're here, motherfuckers." Okay,
yeah, yeah, and
do the work.
yeah. And then the guy that was just on, he's been channeling this aspect of like 1994, kind of like Bashar. And but he put up a diagram to your point and showed that now not only was it the solstice to the solar eclipse, but now to this lunar eclipse that's coming on the heels of it. So it
That
sounds like a
lunar eclipse, I feel like it's gonna bookend everything. I feel like we've been closing out karmic cycles that have been playing out for thousands and thousands of years. I want to say since fall of last year. So this has kind of been like months in the making. And now it's feeling so intense, and we are purging so much, and we're feeling so much shit because we're like at the tail end, right before we take that leap into, I don't want to say a completely new realm, but a whole new version of us, let's
yeah,
say.
and that resonates too because I remember there was a big kick, a tick up. Winter, well, what is that? Winter equinox or winter? I
Mm.
don't I get them all mixed up. Whatever the 21st of
Winter
December,
solstice,
winter
I think.
solstice. But a lot of people cited 11/11, November 2018. Uh, that what you're describing started, and I think that's true because the things really, really started to look different. Now, what this guy Patrick McCormick was saying in the show before was saying the same thing you were, different words, and he was saying that the emotional attachment to all that stuff is being closed out, which to me is pretty much the same thing you're saying.
The astral realm, that dimension of the sacral chakra and all those wounds and all prior cords we had to old relationships and relationships that don't serve us, that is being ripped out.
Yeah.
And as it's being ripped out, it can feel excruciating because it's like, now we're naked. Who am I? Where do I go? What's next?
Yeah.
Because the sacral chakra is also the element of water. That is how we flow. That is how we, go along with everything. So as that is clearing out, shit, our control issues can come up. Like, okay, what do I need to do? Like, what's going on? What's next? And that's where we need to settle in to that energy even more and not try to fight it and go, go, go.
Yeah. And that's something he was describing and using different words. And he was saying, do you feel like you're confused? Like, what do you do next? And I wonder, because I've actually thought about this for quite a few weeks, really even going back further than that, my own journey, trying to find this energy in the space I could be. And this is when I was mostly traveling around a lot before I settled down here. And I could feel the magic of it. And the magic was like telling me, don't think about nothing, just jump out there. I'm like, jump where? And you jump and there's nothing around you. And it was just this weird mix of faith, love, courage, some type of unspoken wisdom, some type of subtle connection to the infinite, and then of course the human, right? And I wonder, is the trick just getting used to the space now, not projecting the future, and you know what I mean? I mean, is it just getting
the void?
Yeah, it's like being
that
comfortable.
0 point.
Yeah.
And I feel like that 0 point is what a lot of these higher realms is about, because I feel like our creative abilities at that 0 point is at its most potent.
Yeah.
That's when you can really create some shit like in an instant.
Yeah.
Your thoughts are manifesting like at a rapid pace. But when that ego and that personality is still fighting that void and that 0 point, that point of neutrality, that point of nothingness, where you feel like there needs to be something there, that's when it's like, okay, what the hell's going on? That's where that lost feeling comes in, that confusion. Where do I go? Where do I run to? But you need to settle. It all comes back into settling down and coming to that heart space. And sometimes what I do is I just put my hand on my heart and I put my other hand on my womb and really just bring all the energy right back into my center. And shit shifts. Like, we're shifting like rapidly.
No wonder every time Morgan says she's gonna lay down and meditate, that's where her hands go. Okay. And so like, and the other thing I find interesting too is it's like, okay, so everything's accelerated, especially like since the period you're talking about, since the fall of last year. It's gone faster and faster and faster. But some of these little quick journeys into the void are intense and dark, man. Like whoa, like, and what do you do in a situation like that?
I love that shit. I love it. I love it. You have to love the shadows, because that the shadows pull you down into an aspect of you that you're still afraid of. That whole embodying soul and embodying higher self and fully inhabiting your vessel comes down to being able to dip in and out and not have any fear when it comes to that. Because when you really embody higher self and soul and all of that, you're going to be traveling dimensions and realms. Even if you're working with someone and they're of a lower frequency, or they have an attachment, or they have some darkness around them, you have to be able to see that for them, translate it, and face it head on.
Yeah.
You can't be afraid of the shadows.
Yeah, that's powerful. I like that. That's very, very good. Do you think that our, what would you call it? Our ancestors, multidimensional aspects, other community or family in the universe is learning from the human experience?
Of course, why would we come here? Earth is a school.
Yeah.
It's a school to master duality.
Yeah.
I feel like I came here because I'm like, these goddamn humans need help again.
Yeah,
So,
again. So,
so it's like some of us come here to really get this frequency, get Gaia to a certain frequency so that we can kind of fall back into the shadows and
Yeah.
everything can ripple and, take form.
yeah, right on. Yes. So what do you think of all this talk about the Earth's going to split into two, and these people are going to go over here, and these people are going to go over there, or such things as the event, the universe is going to blink its eye, there'll be a solar flash, and we're all going to be walking on water like Jesus. No disrespect to anyone or anything, but what do you think?
That?
Well, I took it to the creative extreme, but I mean, these programs, are they?
I feel like okay, so if someone is speaking or posting a Facebook, whatever you call it, comment or what is it, post? I'm like in the ethers right now, sorry. If
Okay.
someone is posting something and I can feel that they're not in their body, now that's giving too much room for any other entity to come in and use this vessel to say, okay, now I'm going to post this.
Okay.
I'm going to say this. So that's why it's very important that we sit in our bodies, because when we leave ourselves open like that, anything can come in and out of our form.
Okay, that's a good point. I like the way you said that, because I'm a pretty good, I think I'm like a translator. If I can hear something and then like say, okay, is this what you're saying? But I think this is good, and I've told this story a lot. I've been with Morgan almost 4 years. For the first 2 years, she told me nothing matters, and all this stuff you're getting is great. You are connected, but until you embody it, it doesn't mean anything. And now I'm listening to you as a means of discerning and deciphering my own path and my own truth. I'm just speaking in the third person, and that is if they're not embodied, if they're not grounded with what they're saying, which is another way of saying they're not aligned with all their all their aspects, then I need to take heed of that. That's a good observation. Thank you to the young people.
Because it's there's a lot of that, kind of curanderas, they call it sustos, and you have, your soul fragments all over the place until all these aspects of you are gathered and you're sitting back in your vessel. Then now you're leaving yourself open to a whole bunch of shit.
Yeah. So it's actually like you're leaving the human unattended, right? You're leaving the human unattended. Oh, it's such a paradox, isn't it? Like the human is the hero. The human is, Morgan says, the human is the manager. But the human, you can't really do anything unless the human is aligned and, that free will is merging like with the highest intent, unconditional love. But at the same time, you can't leave the human alone. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
You can't.
This vessel, you have to love it. You have to love your form.
Yeah.
You have to hug it. You have to kiss it. You have to feed it well. You have to talk to it. You have to speak life into it, because this is the form that you will use for this lifetime. Get used to it. Get acquainted with it, because this is what you're driving.
Yeah, right on. And that's why one other thing I just want to say, I got to give big props to you, because, I grew up in South Texas, and I love ethnic food like menudo, all the stuff I won't mention because I don't want to freak everybody out. But it just goes to show me that you can actually walk this path and be true to yourself, and within reason, eat the things that you want, and maybe that has something to do with that blood, with that lineage that you talk about, which is not to be constricted, based on what you're saying, I think, to just your human incarnations or ancestry, but also your galactic and beyond. Is that not true?
Definitely. Like the foods, sometimes I don't know if I could give up the oxtail and the rice and peas and the brown stew chicken and the curry goats. I don't know if I could give it up.
I get you, yeah.
So I told my mom once, I was like, Mom, I'm turning vegan. She's like, vegan? You have some nerve. Like, she wanted to slap me. She's like, food is my culture. What do you mean? So I was like, you have a point.
Oh my God, that's funny. Yeah, I knew I was okay when I got here to Kauai, and there's an authentic Mexican restaurant down the street with menudo Saturday and Sunday. So I'm like, okay, I'm good. So last thing. So we got just a few minutes. Is there anything that you want to share, or anything you want to say, or I just or tell us where we can find you, or anything like that. Um, a song
I
and a
just
dance.
got chills.
Yeah.
I feel like the importance of this journey is love. Love within, love without. Until you are loving self, you cannot truly love another. And there are so many levels to what love is. And I feel like we have to get to the point where we are truly being open with one another. And it's not about you're doing this wrong or you're doing that right. It's not one path, because we're all just reflections of God at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So there's a unity that we need to have, I feel like, in the spiritual community, because I feel like a lot of the times it comes down to competition.
Yes. Yes. It's just a copy of the same BS that
Yes.
we left behind. Factions, and no, I totally agree with you. And I saw a post the other day that they were saying at this time, and of course I think they were talking about what we were talking about in terms of the different things that have occurred recently, and they said directly, you light workers, you way showers, you awake people, anything that is not that is unloving is going to come back at you hard and heavy real quick. Now you have a responsibility because you've been given the knowledge, so yeah, I totally agree with that, and I know I've had to work on it.
I was just gonna say that shit is hard.
I know. I mean, I got probably the most powerful transmission I've received from a couple of beloved, beautiful, divine feminines a few days ago, and it was tough for the human, but it helped me a lot. And I was very blessed to hear it. But I ended up having a call because I wanted to, because I needed the alignment of my integrity, call my friend who I had disrespected or whatever the case is. But yeah, these are those shadows that you were speaking of earlier that we've run from. I think particularly the mask one, but it's so liberating, and at the same time it's so empowering, because I could feel my shift. I mean, it went like this, and then it went straight up. But yeah, so it's you got to put your money where your mouth is, right? You got to walk the talk.
and that's what I'm learning. That my throat has to be aligned with my heart, and it has to be aligned with my sacral. And until all of that is going in one upward direction, it's just I'm just gonna be talking out the side of my neck, basically, talking that bullshit.
Yeah. That's a good the throat, the sacral, the heart and throat. Yeah. Beautiful lady, beautiful friend. I appreciate you coming on. I'd love to collaborate with you. Soulogy would love to support you as you expand the energy, expand awareness of your energy, the energy that's you. So if there's anything we can do, please reach out. Don't hesitate. And thank you for doing the good work every day and inspiring everybody.
It was a blast. Like I'm so excited. I finally said, "All right, let's go, girl." Like my spirit grabbed me and was like, "Time to go."
Yeah.
So
I'm glad too. It's really good to meet you. It's really good to make the connection, and and if and when we get back to New York, I love New York. I just don't want to spend a lot of time there. If I was single and still like a lone wolf, it'd be okay, because you can travel like a guerrilla warrior. But no, it's a beautiful place. It taught me a lot. So, but maybe we can do it. Meet in the flesh sometime. You take care. Best to you and yours. And thank you so much for honoring us with your presence and sharing space with us, Ashley. You take care. Peace out.
Bye.